Welcome back to DIVEBOMB IndyCar Podcast and the first episode of 2024. So we all hope you had a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we've got an absolutely great way to start the year. We're all back. But joining us today is Callum Ilott, 2023 IndyCar racer and 2024 World Endurance Championship driver. Callum, welcome to the podcast. It's a delight to have you on.
Thank you very much. Good to see you guys.
So I think we want to start at the start of your IndyCar journey pretty much. So when did it become clear to you that maybe there wasn't going to be a pathway in F1 after what was a really strong season in F2? And then, was it always IndyCar? Were there other options on the table? And what was it that in the end kind of appealed to you most about IndyCar as sort of the option for your future?
Yeah, so after 2020, going into 2021, you kind of get one season to be a reserve and have a chance to kind of break into F1. I think after that, it always decreases a bit. So I think it got to about August, middle of 21, and I kind of knew that for 2022, it wasn't going to happen. And then I had to kind of make a decision as to what to do. And I could have stayed in the same kind of roles and done the same thing, racing the GT stuff and being reserved, but I wanted to kind of make a change and try something else. And I understood how good a career could be in IndyCar if you make it work. So I went to go and try it and kind of found a situation that I could build up in and learn and develop in and try and take something small to something quite impressive. And I committed to that. I think, because of the situation that I was in, I was probably one of the only ones to just say, yeah, you know what, I'll give it a go and do it. I think the only other option was to continue in GT for another year and then see where that landed in terms of the hypercar stuff for what would have been 23 instead of IndyCar. But I didn't really want to wait. I wanted to see what I could do in IndyCar and worst case come back, and just so happened that's what's happened.
So was IndyCar something you always were having an eye into moving in, or was it a case of it came up at the time and it was the best option at the time, or was it sort of a long-term goal to race in the Indy 500, or was it just on the spot in the moment?
I think obviously when you're young, you always have eyes for Formula One, and and understand the other opportunities and routes. And if we take out hypercar, because at the time when I started to get into single seaters, there was only 3 manufacturers in LMP1, so you would look at probably either doing Formula E, which was growing, or IndyCar. And I think that I didn't really explore much the opportunities in Formula E. I dabbled in it, and there was on 1 or 2 of the years an opportunity or two, but I just didn't commit to it because it wasn't the right time. And then I think it was more of a circumstance. Like, I'd looked at IndyCar end of 2019. I think I'd looked at IndyCar with Dale Coyne, and I explored it as an opportunity, but again I wanted to continue in F2, and it just wasn't the right time. So it wasn't something that I had kind of decided I was going to do, only until the opportunity was completely there and the timing was right. I was like, you know what, I'll just give it a go and see what we can do. But in terms of a series, I did want to try the 500. Obviously, you can be a bit apprehensive about doing that race when you're not used to any ovals. But I did want to explore it. And outside of that, I didn't really know much about it until the first talk came up in 2019.
So how was driving in IndyCar compared to the other things that you've driven in the past, such as F2? What was kind of the differences and the stuff that you had to get used to?
Firstly, the intensity of the weekend, intensity of the races. An F2 race was about an hour long. IndyCar race is anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours. So it's quite a long event, and no power steering, 3 to 6 pit stops. It's just it's takes its toll physically, which like I had to step up the training a lot. There was a bit of a change on that side. In terms of other stuff, I would say that the car is a lot more how would I say it, kind of rally style, that you're always moving, you're always sliding. It's a very versatile car because it can go across bumps, you can be on ovals, you can be on short ovals. It's just we raced everything. So I think as a driver you had to adapt and constantly be on top of it, and that's what makes it so difficult also on a team side to be so consistent within IndyCar. Whereas European tracks, it's all the same. Even the street circuits, probably most of the street circuits I did in F2 were smoother than any circuit I did in IndyCar.
I think there's a lot of agreement around IndyCar that it's one of the most exciting series around, but at the same time, there's kind of this knowledge that it maybe deserves more eyes on it than it kind of gets at the moment. So before we kind of delve into more detail about your time in IndyCar so far, what do you kind of feel separates it from other series, and maybe why it deserves more eyes on it, whether it be the culture, the community around the series, the actual racing product that the series offers up?
I think the racing product itself is the best, if not one of the best. I think the versatility of how we race and the circuits we race on is impressive as well. Then, unfortunately, the series suffered quite a loss during the split between, what was it, IndyCar and what was the name of it? Exactly. Thank you. And it just from there suffered a lot. And at that time, I would say that it was close to F1 in terms of the popularity, in terms of how it was for the drivers, the development, all of that side. And then from there, it's kind of been like it's obviously been a great racing product, but it's been behind on other stuff, and F1 has excelled, and it's slowly been increasing. But of course you have high profile drivers joining, you have teams like McLaren coming in and trying to bridge the gap from a European side, from a kind of sponsorship side. I think it's a bit of a mix of things. Like, one, the series is very old school, and that's like its USP. And it's built off of kind of efficiency, but, the racing product, the simplicity of it, whilst also having a bit of development. And out of that, you maybe take a bit of a relaxed side on some things. You overdo it on others, and I think without constant development and constant strive for more, you don't really benefit until it's too late. And that's when, should we say, warning signs come. And there's been a few over the years, whether it's we need a new engine or the hybrid stuff or new chassis, and it's all a bit of a game of like what keeps the series going, what's beneficial for the series, and TV deals, all of that's very important as well. So it's tough because you're kind of like trying to get the best of everything whilst things and money relying off of other stuff to happen. It's tough, and I can understand why some things have lacked. But if you want to excel, you've got to have the marketing right, you've got to have the best TV deals, you've got to be racing in the best places. The thing is, if you look to go more international, you sacrifice the kind of American TV deal that you have. Not completely, but you've got to look for money outside of America. And again, that's not impossible if you do it right, but if you don't do it completely, you don't get the full benefit, and it's not of interest. People realistically want to probably see it go back to Australia on the Gold Coast race, want to see it come to the UK, want to see it go to Italy. Like personally, I'd love to race an IndyCar around Monza. But these things don't happen without, a big load of money thrown at it, and the enticement of that, is limited right now. So it's a long way to go, and I think little steps and improvement have been enough. But maybe at some point there's got to be a big step to kind of take the series to another level that others have. If we take WEC at the moment, they've had 9 or 11 manufacturers coming in on the hypercar side, and I really think that it's going to take the series to another level, and it was already very strong before that, and that's just a massive encouragement for the series. What does IndyCar need to take it further? But the racing product's amazing, the Indy 500's amazing. How do you make the whole thing more attractive and maybe younger, maybe more isolated? I think one of the differences between like F1 and F2 to IndyCar is I could barely even get guest passes, more than 1 or 2 guest passes for an F2 race. So to get in the paddock, which is in one way ridiculous, but in another way it's so exclusive. Even to get in the F1 paddock, like I still have to break people's balls to get myself a paddock pass if I want to go there. Whereas an IndyCar, it costs you $35 or $45, which is great because it allows everyone to get that experience. But I always have this feeling of like, is the exclusivity of F1 and the fact that like you can go there and not even see a driver in the flesh, I mean, something that makes you want to go there and make it rare? Not to say that that's the right thing, but you go to an IndyCar race and you'll see all the drivers, and you'll probably be able to chat to at least 5, 6, 7 of them. I wonder if it kind of takes the specialty off of it. I'm not sure. I mean, it's up someone a lot older and cleverer can decide that for themselves. But just playing devil's advocate, because I know how great it is for the fans to come to an IndyCar race and be that close. But I'm just wondering if there's actually more of a balance that can be had to make it more exclusive. And I know someone's probably going to be sat there going like, oh, please don't say that. We love seeing the drivers. And I get that. And we love seeing the fans as well. But I just wonder what makes it more attractive on a global scale.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a really valuable answer that a lot of people could definitely do with listening to, really.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So let's look back at your early IndyCar career. Obviously, you started off for the last 3 races of 2021 with Juncos. It was obviously restarting for the first time in 2 years. Obviously, a lot happened in the 2 years. You had a whole COVID situation and the aero screen coming in and all of that. So how sort of was it being in a single car with no teammate to reference from and not really much recent data from the team to learn from? How did you sort of work amongst that, especially with sort of the lacking facilities they had at times when you started with the team?
Yeah, I think the first 3 races were very tough because it was just like an unknown for everything. And actually, in hindsight, we did a pretty good job. And there were a lot of mistakes that were kind of made, and then we figured it out and would move on to the next. And you were kind of recovering. And that team at the end of those 3 years was just a load of people put together with no like synchronization, if you know what I mean. So it was good, but a bit messy in some ways. And I think we actually overachieved on a kind of performance side a lot there. I think in Portland, before I had an electronics failure, but before that, it was about lap 50, and I think I was running in P12, which at the time was not bad considering it was the first race, and yeah, pit stops were nothing special at the time. And then going over the winter, obviously we did the kind of partnership with Carlin and acquisition, all of that sort of stuff, and that was very, very positive. And going into 2022 single car, I didn't do any simulator, so learning the tracks was just I'd turn up YouTube video and go. And you can imagine on the development side as well, it was very tough to like pre-decide anything setup wise when you're not doing that. And a lot of people don't really understand how tough it is to go against a Penske, Ganassi, McLaren with no sim, just one car, no data to kind of judge off. Like, if you're Colton's teammate, Pato's teammate, Will Powers, you come in from a session and you know exactly where that guy's quicker than you in the same car, all of this. I didn't know the track. I had nothing to compare with. So I just sit there and go, okay, if we're going to do that, and that with the car, I think I can do this, and this in this corner. I'll probably be able to do this. And I think like 80% of the time I kind of managed to do that and get it right. And I think because it went so well in 22 compared to 23, people didn't really appreciate the job I did, the job we did, at getting everything set up with a single car. I mean, the amount we did in like taking that car, even a lot of the stuff from Carlin, and just making it as good as it can be. Like, I don't think I could have got what we had any better than what it was, which is why when everyone steps it up into 23, you kind of look like you've taken a backward step. It's not the case. We fine-tuned everything and actually found that, in 23, you're kind of, there's not much else to do. So you're trying things, and sometimes it's actually going worse because you've got it so good the year before, So it was very tough, but I think we did an amazing job, which after that kind of got overlooked, and then people don't think you're doing as good of a job as you did, and you're like, I don't think you realize how much we're doing right now.
Yeah, so as you said, you started off as a single seater, which is, as you said, very hard to kind of deal with that on your own. How did things then change when Canapino then joined the team in 2023? Was it a case of you becoming a team leader along someone who didn't have as much experience in this series?
I wouldn't say as a team leader. I just kind of carried on the jobs that I was doing, because especially when someone's a rookie, but someone being a rookie in single seaters, there's a very steep learning curve, and a lot of your feelings, even coming into a new car, you just don't know what you want. So I was kind of just following off with the development that we'd been doing, trying to make things better. And I think he was learning and progressing on the track, on the car, whilst I was kind of doing the development. So across thermal and a lot of the earlier test days and weekends, it was kind of, I was just doing the normal stuff that I was doing. And then I think once he got pretty comfortable with it, then at that point you can progress together. But I think at the time it's such a steep learning curve that you're kind of got a lot more to focus on than the car development in his position.
So kind of keeping on the topic of 2023, I think your Indy 500 campaign was probably one of the stories of the season. I don't know how you reflect back on that now, whether it's positive, negative, but it must have been tough kind of knowing there was an issue with the car from early, and then to get in the field on the first day of qualifying, finish 12th in the race. It must have been quite rewarding. So I don't know whether you can just take us through kind of the story of that and kind of what was going through your head during that month.
Yeah, I'll kind of simplify it because I've gone into a lot of detail about it before. But yeah, I struggled with the car for the open test and the testing before it. And I think, every year someone has some kind of issue, and I just so happen to be that person this time. And, it's not comfortable at 230 miles an hour when something's not right. And also you can't pinpoint it. It's all a driver feel, and we checked a lot of stuff over and over again and just couldn't find it. So in the end, Friday morning, we decided to change the car, and within 3 laps, I already knew it was better. It's just you then have to fine tune that car. So I kind of was like, okay, this is good, but I'm missing this. So come in, try again. Okay, this is good, but we've overdone it. And then it was qualifying. So you're straight in there again, that kind of thing where I knew the car was good, but it wasn't right. And the first run, actually, I came in a bit annoyed because I'd struggle. I'd almost crashed every lap trying to kind of get it round, but I knew the car was there. It was just out the window. So then as I was kind of doing the interviews, because there was a long line of interviews, I'm like, actually, my first lap was like a 2:32. That's not bad. Like, I think actually the car's pretty quick. I just need to put it in the window, and that's not a difficult thing to do. And then we got that, overshot it a bit because then I was a bit loose coming on the final lap. But yeah, got it into the race, and I think like 0.1 mile an hour behind my teammate, and with like 3 runs before that with a new car, I kind of proved that, you know, there was an issue and it needed to be remedied, and we did that. And then I kind of struggled a bit with the race car after that, because the rest of the week normally you're fine-tuning the race car, you're going through all your wings, you're going through all your ride heights to try and get the right window for you to be following other cars, to be comfortable. And I just didn't have the time to do that and go through everything. So I was not slow, but I couldn't follow guys very close behind. So I did suffer in the race because of that, and I had to run a lot of downforce, which made me suffer. When I got to the front, I was just a sitting duck because everyone else is running so much less downforce, because you can do that at the front. I was starting 27th, so I just cranked the wing on and hoped for the best. And in hindsight, I think as a learning experience, it was great. There was a lot that I learned throughout the whole event. I think there were a lot of things, positives to take away, whether it was kind of personal, whether it was like an achievement within myself, and kind of, you know, sometimes standing up for your beliefs in some ways. Of course, like, some people viewed it quite negatively because, you know, no one likes criticism. And of course, it's not, some things aren't, you know, very well accepted in the world of motorsports. But in hindsight, I think I wouldn't, if I didn't change the car, I don't think I would have qualified for the race. It wasn't possible to put 2 laps together, let alone 3 corners. And in looking further into it, yeah, it was a special time. So honestly, I'm quite thankful for it as a person, and kind of like the global things. Did it help some things? No. Did it help some things? Yeah. It's life, you know, there's challenges, ups and downs, and I think if I was to do it again, there's some things I'd do better and there's some things I'd do the same.
Yeah, I mean, just as a quick follow-up, how have you found your couple of months of May so far? Obviously, it's kind of the big thing in IndyCar. That's what a lot of fans, you know, will only know it for the Indy 500. So how have you found that? Because that is kind of the big thing in IndyCar.
It's busy, very busy, quite stressful depending on what you have. Like the first year, I found the time management and that kind of schedule very tough, because you don't really understand what you have to do, when you have to do it, how you should do it, and what you're most comfortable with. Because you have like the motorhome there, even though you live 25 minutes away from the track, and you kind of, as a rookie, have like more events to go to. Then returning there as a veteran, you understand how all that works. So like, I think for me, like, I would do every other night back home. So one night if I have an early start at the track, the other night at home. And like, for me, that was a comfortable way to do it. And on top of it, yes, the driving side of things was very stressful and not something I would like to repeat in the same way. But in terms of knowing how to deal with things and how to approach the car, having difficulties on an oval, like, aside from the difficulties that I had, but like taking your time with stuff, you get that a lot better, and you know how you normally do it. I think what normally happens is most people run qualifying setups during the morning and general day, and then in the last 2 hours you'll run your race setup. So there'll be a period in the middle of that where you'll change the car over to the race aero and config. And you kind of get into that routine and trying to achieve what you want to achieve in a certain area, and then going into the race area, and just that flow of things.
So looking forward to next season, obviously you're making a change to the World Endurance Championship with Jota Sport. Obviously the news of you leaving IndyCar was quite late on the driver market. So was it a case of you wanted to stay in IndyCar, or was WEC the right option, the right time, like it was when you joined IndyCar?
No, I was more than expecting to stay. It wasn't a, how would I say? There was no kind of option not to stay, if you know what I mean. I was always convinced. If you'd asked me 2 months ago what I was doing, well, it's probably just over 2 months now, I would have definitely expected to be staying in IndyCar. There was no kind of doubt in my mind. So it was a bit of a surprise. And then, of course, came to an agreement to split and move on. And then, yeah, I explored IndyCar and kind of wanted, that was my first goal, to stay in IndyCar, but with what was left available and the nature of what was needed for those seats, I wasn't, or not that I wasn't an option, it's just I'm not the top option because of the nature of those seats. And that's not to say that if I'd have known another month or two earlier, even a couple of weeks earlier, actually there would have been options. And for my type of driver, should we say, that I wouldn't have had an issue, but that wasn't the case. So I had to look at other things whilst kind of seeing if those options are going in the right direction. And I explored on the endurance side, because obviously I'd done it a little bit in 21. And Jota knew that they were going to have one opening, if not two, within the now 12 car. And I the more and more I looked into it and understood it, the more I realized how good of an opportunity it is and could be at the time. And we moved very quickly after the Bahrain event. Unfortunately, not quick enough to make the test at that time, but very soon afterwards to get things going. And I like a lot their idea, their mentality, their openness, and like simple thing. They encourage a racing driver to do as much driving as possible because that's the nature of it. And so, for me, it's quite nice to just be able to have something that I can prioritize and in a very good position, and to be able to explore other things of what I want to do without having to worry too much.
Like, looking forward into next year, how kind of excited are you to compete in Le Mans? I think you've said before somewhere that you've mentioned that this and kind of the Indy 500 are your major goals. So how do you kind of feel going into it?
Yeah, great. I finished third in the Pro-Am in 2021, which was kind of the building blocks for me to kind of come back, and like how good of an event that was for me. And then to be able to do that in the top class, which is hypercar, is going to be super exciting. So I'm quite excited to get back to the European tracks that I grew up racing and learning and, shall I say, excelling in, because that's what you're used to. And to do it with a team that I really think can do a great job, and isn't a manufacturer team either. So there's a very high, how would I say it, self-esteem of trying to beat the manufacturers and to do a great job, because they can, and I know they can. And I think we've got a great lineup. So Le Mans is the target, and then any other races we can win on the way and get podiums in would be great, because it would be great for the team. It'd be great for my career. And yeah, I think definitely Jota, their improvement throughout the year last year was incredible, given they only got the car just before Spa. So no real time to test it. You're kind of developing every race weekend, and to see their progression towards the end of the year, I really think with a bit more testing, we can hit the ground running and completely smash some people out of the park.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to kind of see you in that, and we hope that you do well.
I think it'll be good. Thank you.
Good.
So, obviously, looking at sportscasting, it's very different to the nature of an IndyCar, very naturally. Jenson Button, sort of your teammate going into next year, I think he said they're more technologically advanced than Formula One cars are nowadays. So, what is that sort of a main highlight going to WEC? Is it the manufacturer side of things, and also the increasing emergence with IMSA going into future seasons?
I think there's a couple of positives to look at it. One is that the amount of manufacturers coming into the series is just great, and really increasing the relevance. Not that it was irrelevant at all before, but the relevance of the series and the popularity, the opportunities for drivers, the opportunities for manufacturers, and at the top level as well. I imagine how great WEC was when you had Audi, Porsche, and Toyota fighting back in 16, 17. And now you've got 9, 10, or I think almost 11 manufacturers. Maybe it's 9, but I need to redo my numbers and have a look. But a lot of manufacturers fighting for the top spot. It's super cool, and it's nice to be a part of it. I think as well, for me as a driver, you can see that the amount of guys that have a very long career within motorsports who have done endurance stuff and continue to do endurance stuff, I think it creates a great platform to be able to do that. And a lot of guys start off in the GTs, and I did that in 21, and now get my opportunity to do it in hypercar, which is great. And then there was one other thing that I was going to say, but I forgot.
So obviously, just a bit on that, it's sort of to merge with a bit IMSA more. Obviously, you're with Jota, who are running the Porsches, so both in IMSA and WEC. Was IMSA an option potentially you're looking at just because you were based stateside, or was WEC the better opportunity at the time you're looking at?
I think WEC was the first real opportunity that I got. And I think IMSA, maybe in hindsight, with the fact that I was living in the US and I still have a place out there because I renewed it for a year, very close to when I found myself not in IndyCar anymore. So that was a bit annoying. But anyway, aside from that, I think IMSA would have made continuance of life easier, but that's not always how it works. And I think as well, whether you do IMSA or WEC, it doesn't really matter because, for example, you've got obviously Jota, an amazing team, and I think we're going to do a very, very good job. But if you're just looking at a global picture, you've got Penske that operate in WEC and IMSA and IndyCar with a Porsche, and they can compare and see you. So, if you did end up stopping in WEC for a year and then decide what you're going to do, they have that comparison with you from that year running with the same car in both series. It's not, I think either way, it's not a bad thing. It was just what's more comfortable. I am currently in the UK. My parents live in the UK. Luckily, they haven't kicked me out of the house yet properly. So I'm able to still stay here and travel from here. I have the base in the US. So probably if I end up trying to do the 500 or go to a couple of other races, I can do that from out there. So yeah, I think as much as it's a bit of a change, it's not a big problem. I think there's subtle things that, of course, you have to adapt and change, but it's really not an issue.
So, as a driver, how important do you see it as to kind of dabble in other disciplines of racing? I mean, you obviously see a lot of the IndyCar guys doing the endurance races in IMSA. I think, did you do the Indy 8 hours as well a couple of months back? So, how important is that kind of for your skill set as a driver?
Yeah, I think in general, driving as much as possible is great. It would be quite tough if you're a runner and you have to do a marathon once a year. If you're not running at all, you're gonna struggle. So being able to do little bits here and there is great. And yeah, I got the opportunity to do the Indy 8 hours, and it was good fun because it's with some close friends of mine. and I got to do it in a Porsche, which is quite convenient. And yeah, I like doing that because luckily I'm good enough to be adaptable enough to kind of switch between these things and be fast and try and add value to it, even without having massive amounts of experience in these areas. And that makes these things possible. But also just in some spare time doing it is nice, like it's great to enjoy it, because sometimes you do like the whole IndyCar thing. It's very serious. That's where you're trying to get all the results all the time, and if you don't, it's upsetting, and you get to do these other things to kind of enjoy it a bit more. It's weird because you still should have the same mentality, but I find it a bit more relaxing as well to kind of do different things and just help other people instead of trying to help myself, if you know what I mean.
So this question is more for like our American and NFL like listeners. Tom Brady is involved in Jota, like hence the number 12 car. Have you had any contact with him?
No, not yet. I think he posted our team story or something. So no, I do know that he came to Le Mans this year, so I'd hope he returns next year. Yeah, I don't know what the plan is in terms of like I think there's a couple of things that will be planned, but I don't know what they are. And obviously he's a legend within the US and in sports, so it'll be quite cool to hopefully meet him and get a chance to maybe have dinner or something, which would be nice.
So we kind of want to look at your IndyCar future. Obviously, I think we want to see you back. A lot of people want to see you back in IndyCar as well. So first of all, looking at 2024, are there still options on the table, whether for part-time or an Indy 500, whether that be as a fill-in or when there aren't clashes with races in WEC?
Yeah, I think to say if there's options on the table, I don't know, because I'm not the one like in control of any of those, in the sense like it's not like there's something paper there and I just have to sign it. I think there's got to be some things that happen on other people's sides to kind of see how that works. But I was definitely going to go to some of the races, like try and go to St. Pete, the 500 if I don't end up driving straight away, and go there as kind of reserve, enjoy it, chat to a few people, and then see later on. Like, it sounds quite bad, but normally if something happens, it happens around the 500, so it's not a bad place to go as a reserve. And obviously I don't want to gamble on anyone's misfortune, but just looking realistically, as if you're going as a reserve, it's the way it is. And then yeah, probably a few races beyond that. I have the ability, I think, to go to maybe 9 or 10 events within IndyCar. Who knows if I do all of those, because that would be quite a lot of money to spend to go to every single one. But I'll definitely try to go to a few. And yeah, I think the 500 I definitely want to do. Just how I do it, I don't know yet. I think I was so busy with obviously all the stuff, then all the WEC stuff, because I went to go and test the car in Qatar. So I didn't really get round to prioritizing, a one-off IndyCar race yet, and seeing what the opportunities are. Maybe it's even one of those things that you just kind of wait and see. Who knows? So I don't know. I need to get around to it, but it's Christmas as well, and my priority at the moment is to do WEC and get the best result in that.
Obviously, looking a bit longer term, you seem sort of keen to return in some form of aspect. Is sort of WEC a 1 year thing? You're looking to return to IndyCar in the future, or is it going to be just where your path takes you at the end of this year and you're going to pick the right path for you?
Yeah, I don't know yet, honestly, because everything changed. Like I said 2 months ago, if you've asked me what I was doing, it was definitely IndyCar, and nothing was changing. And then very quickly I had to change, and been presented with this great opportunity, and in something that a lot of guys enjoy, and something that you can have a great career in, and it has some great races, and is increasing in popularity and viewership. So I'm kind of interested to see where this kind of journey goes. And of course, I'm not against anything, and I don't want to write off anything. So IndyCar, WEC, yeah, I'm quite relaxed as to, you know, where it goes. But also, I did another interview earlier today, and one of the questions was like, well, it was a bit rhetorical, but guessing if I was to return to IndyCar, it would have to be with the top team to make it worth it. And I think in a certain way, if in the future I was to return, it would have to be more like that, because I'd spent 2.5 years and plan to do another year trying to take something small and make it work, when, you know, my peers are going into positions where they can win and do a good job. And I know I can win, and I know I can do a very good job. It's just you have to be in a place that can kind of put you into that position, or help you be in that position. So yeah, I'd have to explore it, and if the right thing comes up, who knows.
So kind of focusing back on 2024, kind of what are your expectations with Jota? What do you personally want to achieve? Do you feel like there are victories on the table possibly?
Yeah, I definitely think we can win some races. I can't tell you where we'll have our most success. I can't tell you, you know, where the expectations are to do well. But obviously, if there's one to do well, it's Le Mans. They did a great job last year. We're leading the race for a while. Unfortunately, it didn't go their way in the end. But yeah, they definitely can do a great job, and I think we have a solid team. I think we're super fast in quite a few places, but I can't tell you where and when. But I know I definitely think a win is on the table and a couple of podiums.
Good stuff.
Yes. So heading like away from like the off track before we get into some like really fun questions, how have you found moving over stateside during your years in IndyCar so far? Have you found yourself like immersed in and used to like the American culture?
Yeah, I think, you know, there's people can look at this positively or negatively. America is very made for convenience, right? You've just got parking spaces everywhere, big cars, fuel is cheaper. There's entertainment everywhere. Yes, it costs you money, but it's everywhere. And I think, to be fair, Indiana, and especially where I was living, was very easy in a certain way. There was nothing negative about it. It was nice. It was chilled. I think the tough things were the time difference, because obviously everyone I know before is Europe side. So 5 hours. If I go to the West Coast, it's 8 hours. +1 if it's my girlfriend in Italy, so she's very happy with those time differences. And then of course costs of flights and all of that sort of stuff. So some things are a bit tough about it, but living out there, I mean, you can't, as a driver, you kind of have it quite easy. So it's nice and kind of free as well. You've got a lot of freedom out there to go around. I think once you're in the US, traveling around inside is super easy, whether it's driving, whether it's flying. Nothing stops you doing kind of anything you need to. And I think some know it, some don't. I mean, what is it? 40% of Americans don't have a passport. Maybe that figure's changed, but to be honest, they don't need it, because you've got beaches, you've got mountains, you've got deserts, you've got everything you need in terms of the climate that you want to see, and some very beautiful landscapes. So I am a bit jealous of them for that, especially with the weather right now. It's not too bad today. It could be worse, but yeah, it's tough. But the winter in Indianapolis is super cold. I'm not a big fan of being there from this time to about end of February, March. But in the summer, it's beautiful, it's lovely, and I enjoy it a lot.
Just a bit of obviously we're a British-based podcast, and obviously you proudly represent the UK in IndyCar. obviously the trend is sort of changing here. Sky Sports broadcast it, so sort of you kind of reach that F1 viewership. But do you feel the perspective of IndyCar is changing within the UK? Do you think it's growing from your perspective, or is it still needs work to make it known?
I think the deal with Sky's made it good and actually very accessible, right? If you know you want to watch it. I think the thing is the marketing of that is obviously very before it gets to Sky is very American. So unless you are an avid Sky viewer, you're not going to know that IndyCar is going to be on at this time or that time or whatever. But the fact that there's no ads on the English side or limited, maybe, I don't know, I haven't watched it, I'm driving most of the time. It's that's super positive. And I think, I don't know the figure, but maybe it's 400,000 people watched the Indy 500 on Sky Live, which, to be fair, for an unadvertised non-US event, that's not bad, and pretty impressive from a UK perspective. I think it was similar in France with Grosjean. So yeah, it's I'd say it's growing, but in a motorsports community, not outside, because it's hard to be known outside. And I think within the US, the 500 allows it to do so. Outside of it, I don't know. I think that's a question I don't exactly know the answer to, but I know within motorsports, I would say in the last 5-6 years, IndyCar's grown a lot within motorsports to make it outside of the US, because I think it went a bit quiet for a couple of years.
So looking back at your 2 and 3 races of IndyCar's driving, what sort of your highlights of your time there? Was it that Indy 500 campaign? Was it the bookending this year of 2 fifth-place finishes? What sort of the biggest highlight for you?
Yeah, I think leading the 500 was great. Bit unexpected. Fighting for pole at Laguna end of 2022. I think I could have done it, but it was close. Got a P2 in the end in a single car team was impressive. And I think it'll be a long time before someone does that. Yeah, the book ending was obviously good. I think, actually, to be fair, we should have had a better result at Laguna. I think there was potential to be on the podium there without some contacts, but that's life, and you have to move on. But it was a very messy race. Like I from lap 3 or 4, I think lap 1, my wing got taken off on the front, or like it was hanging off. So I had to box around lap 4 or 5, and I was the only one to do so. And I had to spend the whole race fuel saving. Like I didn't, every lap of that race from then on, I was fuel saving. So it was a very weird race where I didn't know where I was when I was, but we seemed to get the strategy rather right. I ended up being turned around in the last corner. I ended up spinning in pit lane, and thankfully the spin in pit lane allowed us to be on a certain strategy, because I could come in the pits and refuel an extra 2 times before we went green to be able to have enough fuel to go to the end, which put me in the position that I was, which should have really been leading, going around the outside of my teammate. But unfortunately, Scott Dixon and then McLaughlin passed me because of that. And then, yeah, that's why.
I think if you ask anyone, they could have said they would have won that race. Who really knows?
No. There was lots of different situations, but I think the thing was that from that point, I was not affected by any yellows or anything. So I was only with every, I think it was 1 yellow after that, but that would have only put me in a better position if anything had have changed. So I was in the best position anyone could have been to the end from there, because everyone in front of me still had to box.
So there are a couple of big talking points that people are kind of speaking about around IndyCar at the moment, being the hybrid, and then I think Pato came out and made some comments about possibly needing a new chassis. I think people would probably be interested. Just what is your take on the introduction of the hybrid, and then also whether a new chassis is something that IndyCar could possibly benefit from?
So you have let's just go on the new chassis for now. The problem with the new chassis is I think probably over 100 of these Dallara chassis have been produced, right? The 2012 ones. And in the grand scheme of things, the chassis itself is not it's expensive, but it's not too expensive in the grand scheme. But you've got to buy, as a team, probably at least 3 chassis for each 2 drivers, because you've got to have the spare. Then even at that point, you don't have the spare oval car. You've just got to transfer everything over. That's not the way people always want to do it. So you're looking at, for a 4-car team, having minimum 6 cars, right? And you've got to have all the spares that come with it. Now, the numbers then add up into the millions for doing that, and you've got to do that for every single team. And I think if it's really a worthwhile thing to do in terms of timing, then go for it. Like, if everything's updated and there's a complete plan to integrate, well, actually, I'll get to that in a second. So yes, I think, like, I love the Super Formula car. I like the idea of the power steering. I like the idea of the engine, the power that they have, because it's actually an in-between of F2 and F1, and a very, very fast, good, reliable car. So I don't know if that car would work as an Indy car, because you've got to have a completely different kind of survival, well, not completely different, but survival cell, as they say, for the ovals and crash structure and impact structure. If you see the Indy car, when it hits the wall, those side pods never really collapse because of the amount that they have to take on the impact. And that has to be quite different. Now, the second issue you have is the weight of an Indy car. If we add the hybrid system now and a power steering, or no, second the power steering, but the hybrid system, that's another, I think, 140 pounds. So you have to make some other stuff lighter. Now, making that stuff lighter, does it impact the structural strength of the car? Maybe, maybe not. I think they can make they are making the halo lighter by quite a bit, with actually while strengthening the halo. So that's a good thing. I know that with the old Dallara F3, the one with the airbox that they still use in Euro Formula, they managed to make a new chassis with the halo, with a bit more structural strength in certain areas, and it's even lighter than the old car. So it's not impossible to make a lighter car with the halo, with the structure, with an updated stuff, and that would be nice. So back to the hybrid system, £100 more, 140 in total, I think, then minus a little bit because of these new weight of the bell housing and gearbox and the halo, makes it about 80-90 pounds heavier. That car is already super heavy, and with the steering weight, like, it's getting on the edge of being dangerous to turn. Like, you have a couple of things to make the steering actually harder, which they used to use before the windscreen, before the aero screen, and we can't use those because it's too hard for almost everyone. And they are only used in ovals because it's a certain way. And then you've got to look at the engine side of things, where, they almost went to the 2.4. I believe, development has started on that side, and then that got cancelled. Is it worth deciding for 2027 there's a new car, or 26, completely new car? That's the philosophy. We're going to have a new engine with that, and then we're going to integrate this hybrid system or another hybrid system into that, and we're going to open up this area of aero for you guys to develop as well. I wonder, like, how many things you could integrate to encourage, when I say manufacturers, engine manufacturers, but also maybe hybrid manufacturers. So I think you've got Mayale that do the current one, maybe Bosch, because they do some of the stuff with the hypercar stuff, and give them the space that they can fit into and allow for that. And then you get some more investment from another area. I actually thought the synthetic fuels and the renewable fuels was a great thing to kind of rely off of, which, unfortunately in this modern day is not enough to encourage people to invest within the series. Like it should be, but it will completely invest in the series. So to answer your question is yes, it would be great to have and do. And I think a lot of guys would appreciate and love it, but there's a lot of things that you have to think about. And I think that's what a lot of stuff is coming to light within the media as to why you have to find a balance, because some people need the hybrid to can justify the existence to carry on. A lot of people don't want the hybrid because it creates other issues. And actually, is it beneficial from a driving point of view? Probably not. It's actually quite nice to probably put a V8 in the car, make it super light and drive as fast as possible. I would love that personally. But to justify money, experience, all of this sort of stuff. But then you have to add on the weight. Are we going to have to add power steering? Do we have room for power steering? Do we need a new chassis to be able to add the power steering? You know, you just add layers and layers and layers when you keep adding stuff like this that it can only take so much of. Sorry, that took a while.
Oh, it's interesting. Really, really interesting insight. So I think to round this off, we've just got some quick fire questions, slightly lighter stuff. So if you could race anywhere in the world with IndyCar, what track would you say you would like to race on?
I'd do Monza, Silverstone and Macau.
Okay, so I was also going to say then, which of the British tracks would you want to race on? Would it be Silverstone?
I've only raced on Silverstone personally because I went straight to F3 in Euro. I know IndyCar used to race at Brands Hatch, which actually would be quite cool. But Silverstone would be great. Otherwise, something like Alton Park or something would be cool. I think there's a few good British circuits which remind me of like Mid Ohio and stuff in the US, which would be nice. Maybe the Nordschleife as well. That'd be cool.
Should we bring back the Monza Oval to do a Oranova race every year?
Yeah, I've ran up that banking and it's unlike anything I've ever raced on, so I'm okay from that one.
Right, do you think pineapple belongs on pizza?
No, I will get if I say that.
Better answer than some drivers have given, so credit to you on that one.
Yeah, I've had it once on holiday. It wasn't bad, but it's just a mix of flavors that are just there. Could be better, could be worse. You know.
I don't think your girlfriend would be very proud if you said yeah.
No, she's the one in. Yeah.
All right then. What's your favourite crisp flavour as well?
I love a good Doritos tangy cheese with this what is it, the sweet and sour dip or the white one. I don't even know the name of it, I just know the look of it. That's great. That's solid. Otherwise, I'm just a ready salted guy.
So if you're stuck on a desert island for a period of time, which IndyCar driver would you choose to accompany you?
For fun, Felix Rosenquist. Maybe for productivity, someone else. I don't know. He's actually quite subtly a little handyman in some ways. I think you'd probably just take Rossi because he'd just go off into the wilderness and come back with some like pig on his shoulders.
And if you had someone to rescue you, who's a reliable pair of hands who you could trust to pick you up and take you home safely?
The first one who comes to mind is maybe Newgarden, but I don't know how reliable he is. He just seems like more reliable than at least 80% of them. Because we're not, as racing drivers, as you could probably tell, we're not the most reliable people in the world.
So to finish off, as we get more drivers on, we're trying to make a playlist with a couple of songs from each driver. Could you please give us 2 songs that you would like us to add to the playlist?
Can I have some examples of what's been added so far?
Stingray Rob added some old American country song from well before he was born.
Yeah.
So just anything. I think Tom Blomqvist said some sort of hype song that he listens to in the gym.
So I actually got into country music in the last 3 months. So there's one which is Straight and Narrow by Sam Barber. I like that, but I'm not going to go with my second one for country.
Opening up the Spotify app to see number one from last year.
No, I haven't opened mine just out of the shame of doing so.
Not putting it on your story, don't fancy?
No, I haven't done that. I'm sure some fans are disappointed in me for that. Hang on, give me a second. This is going to take a bit longer. Avicii.
Interesting.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, that
No worries.
rounds us off. Callum, absolutely great to chat to you. Some really interesting insights. We wish you the best of luck for your endeavours in 2024, and we hope to see you back in IndyCar very soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So all the viewers and listeners, hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Next week, we're going to do a bit of a recap of what we've done over the last year on the podcast, before we start looking towards the 2024 season. So, as I said, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.